Martin, how are you today?
Hi, how are you? Hi,
Yeah,
everyone.
good. Martin, what we're going to do is I've explained the format, but before we begin, tell everyone, the audience as well, where you're joining us from.
Okay, I'm joining you from Uruguay. We
Okay,
live in Montevideo.
excellent. Well, welcome. And Mitch, what's going to happen is Mitch is going to take the role of the investor. You can tell both of us are actually in elevators right now. Do you have the elevator background, Mitch? We have to get that for you.
Hold on, I gotta find that up.
You got to get the
I need
elevator.
my background as well.
The props going right, and
Okay.
there you go. You got it. So we're all in elevators. My elevator is a little bit. We've got more glass, I guess, Mitch. Right. So, what's going to happen, Martin, is we have 1 minute for you to pitch your idea. Okay. At the 1 minute mark, right? And we can, what I can do here, if I may, let me just see if I can make sure we stay on time. So give me 1 second while I just pull it out. We'll have a 1 minute timer that we have here. And give me 1 second while I just put the right time in. And the idea is we're interested to invest in your company, right? So what we're going to do is you get that 1 minute, and you'll see the time run out. Hopefully, you're as close to the time as possible, and we'll go from there, right? Martin, are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, here goes.
So, Martin, it's great to meet you. Join me in the elevator. We got to ride up. Give me a quick pitch. You've got a minute.
Okay, so I'm CEO and founder of Genba Robotics. We all want products in supermarket shelves to cost less, right? So in today's market, factories are faced with a challenge of improving efficiency and productivity to stay competitive. As the industry shifts to more diverse and customized products with smaller batch sizes, higher complexity, automation using robots becomes essential. At Genba, we offer cost-effective, innovating robotic solutions that enable factories to optimize operations and enhance productivity. Our R&D division develops cutting-edge technology for end-of-the-line solutions in food and pharma industry, and our engineering services division offers access to this talent, providing our clients with tailored solutions that deliver tangible results. At Genba, we are committed to continuous improvement and innovation, ensuring our clients achieve a return on investment within 1 to 2 years. We have completed more than 80 projects to date and are ready for more.
Okay.
Join us in this robotics revolution.
So, thank you. That's great. You got in basically on time. But I think what I would change about the way that you started is you used the metaphor of the products on shelves. That anchored my thinking immediately in consumer packaged goods rather than factory optimization, which is where you and I were chatting yesterday about how the positioning needs to be. So I would invert that idea. How are we going to keep the shelves filled is the right way to ask that question, rather than imagine wanting to find more on the shelves at a lower cost. You basically describe the consumer experience rather than the problem the producer has keeping the shelves stocked. So I would rethink that introduction. But the idea that you optimize factory productivity with cost-effective robotics solutions is absolutely clear. I think that's perfectly straightforward. But the question is, and you're in that 1 minute, how can you characterize the size of the opportunity? Can you, for instance, in the two divisions, say the average project size or value for your R&D division is X, and how much is it for the other side of the business? So that you give the investor some monetary concept to hang their hat on. Then they can make the decision quickly as to whether or not it's the right size deal. And you get a yes or a no, which is really what you're seeking to do here. A no is not a bad thing. A fast no is actually a good thing because you're not going to waste any more time with the wrong investor. So try to characterize the size of your deal and include the ask, because you didn't say how much you're trying to raise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to add on what Mitch said, first off, I think it's good if you just focus your eye on the camera as well, right? And just make sure that, I know a lot of us are doing this stuff over Zoom, but, the passion really comes through when you're looking at the camera, right? And there's, obviously a little bit of practice on that. But for me, I felt like the secret sauce was missing.
Yeah.
Mitch, I don't know if you felt the same way.
Yeah, I think it was at the end. It was sort of buried in the last third.
Okay. I wanted to know the secret sauce right up front. Like, there are other companies that are attacking this. There's existing incumbents that, like the likes of Amazon and whatnot, that are already doing this. I wanted to know the secret sauce. What have you done? And it might have, Martin, come back to a little bit about your background as well, which wasn't part of your pitch, right? I'm like, why is Martin the best? So what we do here, Martin, is Mitch and I are different people, but we're giving you different feedback in terms of authentically what, if I were to pitch this idea, what are the questions that were going through my mind? So, the secret sauce piece, and I want to hear that again, because I thought he was getting there, Mitch, but I think it needs to be stronger.
Yeah.
How are you better? Right, Martin? How, you've done this, you have all this experience, and how are you better? The pilots that you mentioned, right? You did some amazing work. What were some of the outcomes of that, right? And I also had the ask, right, Mitch?
Yep.
I had the ask, right? So, Martin, do you want to come back to the secret sauce again and just tell us a little bit of, like, let's try to get those questions answered. The secret sauce, how you're better, and some of the pilot outcomes that you've worked on. Or
rather than better, different. There's two different ways to think about it.
Sure. I think our strongest point is the cost, lower cost, cost effective. And second,
how much cheaper?
Like, almost half as the US.
Okay. And why can you do it at half the price, Martin? Is it because
we are located in Uruguay, and engineering costs here are much less?
Is that true, though, when you're working on a project, say in the United States, as we've talked about, you wanted to expand, or you're going to have, because of the cost of moving the material or the experts to the job site in order to do the work of designing the robotics, can you maintain that price advantage?
Yeah, I think we can maintain it because the flow can be separated. Like, the design could be digital, and afterwards the fabrication could be in others' hand.
And why are you the right team to do that?
Okay, we have a lot of experience in this kind of projects, and
so usually examples that Ash was asking about a few minutes ago say, we did this for this company, we did that for that company. Very quickly, can you do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Think about it for a minute. Take a moment and just kind of think about a couple of your examples and tell us in 20 seconds what those two examples were.
Okay. For example, in the pharma industry, we solved a packing a problem that a company had, and they had two machines. The one that did the the primary packaging and the secondary packaging. So we linked them together with a set of conveyors and robots, and so now the client has its production in line. It's much more efficient and reduces its operational costs.
Okay, so could you say it's 20% more efficient, 30% more efficient? Can you quantify it?
Okay, productivity, I think it went up, like throughput went up 20%, and the return of investment for them is 1.5 years.
So rather than going into the connection with the two production lines with the robotics, you could just say, for instance, we have a pharma packaging company where we streamlined their processes by introducing robotics. to reduce the production time by 20%, and their ROI on that project was 1.5 years. So there in 10 seconds, you've summarized what you took about 35 to 40 seconds, which is most of the time after the pitch. Think about, and this is why we're going to ask you this over and over. Don't think that this is a failure. This is you getting the opportunity to speak these out. But go through and rehearse this and think about it so that in the long run, you're going to find that you have different contexts for your conversation with the investor, right? Sometimes it will be in an elevator or at a cocktail party. That's when you do your 1-minute pitch. Then there's a little longer version when you actually get a moment to talk with them, or they say, really, tell me more. So you move from your 1-minute pitch to your 5-minute pitch. And you have to have this kind of stuff naturally in your head and in such a way that you can break it apart to be natural in the context when you're talking to the investor.
Yeah. Mitch, can I ask, Martin, I want to come back to the secret sauce. What's your one, the secret sauce? And I know you can do it more efficiently, but how do you do it? I know it was mentioned, Mitch, but I just thought I would emphasize that again, Martin. Can you answer that?
Like more like on the innovative side.
Yeah. What is the innovation? How do you put this together? Obviously, you're in a lower cost country like Uruguay, but what is the secret sauce? What have you guys discovered? What is the...
Okay. Our strength is our team. We invest a lot in training. So I think that's the biggest strength of Genba. It's people.
Sure. But correct me if I'm wrong, there must be a methodology on how you're applying this, right? And that obviously has to have a little bit of, there must be a secret sauce on the process too, right, Martin?
Yeah, also I would mention like when we finish a project, we always, while we are doing the project, we are recording the learned lessons. So that's a continuous improvement we make in the team, because we also organize it and share it with the team. And that's a way to improve fast.
Mitch, did you get the secret sauce? Like, what do you think the secret sauce is? Like,
well, what I hear is that their secret sauce is a focus on their continuous learning and improvement. Which doesn't quite tie into what the deliverable to the customer is. How do you provide that continuous improvement and optimization? How do you design your system so that they can continually be upgraded?
Yes. Yeah.
That's where you need to translate what you are doing into the experience the customer has that makes you unique. So we are focused on our continuous learning, and we design our systems to continually implement what we have learned. Something like that. And I that's not the right way to put it, but that's closer than what you're saying, which is to talk about what you do rather than what you do for the customer.
Because Martin, what I'm looking at is, when we think about your platform, and it's you're talking about the food and pharma industry being more efficient, flexible, using robotics, sensors, machine vision, and IoT production monitoring technology. You have the technology and all the pieces there, but they have to have a way of moving. Does that make sense, Martin? Right? There's path. Does that make sense? To make it more efficient, you can have all the technology in the world, but if you don't actually have the protocol, the software to direct the robots, the sensors, and machine vision to work in tandem to drive that. That's what I'm thinking your secret sauce is, right? At least from the pitch perspective. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
We need to include that component, because, like, from an investment perspective, especially somebody that wants you to have scale, the secret sauce can't just be the team, in my opinion, Mitch. Because part of this is, how do you inculcate all of this in a technology format that has scalability and repeatability, and you can then install this at pharma companies and food companies around the world, right? Many of whom are going to have to take on the challenge of their HR on their own, right? And that's kind of how I'm seeing this.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Martin?
Yeah.
And it's like, when I think about this, it's like, you've come up with some, maybe patented, maybe protected, algorithm, right? Specifically for pharma, right? Because, when pharma is moving stuff around, it might be a little bit different. Food and pharma might be a little bit different than other things, right? And, you and your team have 20, 30 years of collective experience in robotics, sensors, machine vision, and IoT. And you're packaging that together and building all of this in a low cost country like Uruguay, and enabling food and pharma companies around the world to drive 20 to 30% efficiencies, okay, in their logistics, okay. And you're able to do this. You've already done this with 20 companies. We've seen these companies have payback in 1.5 years, and each one of them have seen improvements between 10 to 20%, and that's impacted their bottom lines by saving them hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, right? And you need the growth capital now to take it to the next level, right? Continue to build the team, continue to build the scalability components, and be in a position where you are the definitive winner in terms of this digitization of these food and pharma companies around the world, right? And you're focusing on that, right? So Martin, again, coming back to the secret sauce, is I want to know the secret sauce and why it's amazing and the best thing for pharma and food and not anything else, right? I like the specificity. I like it, but I want to know that. And I want to know that that's where you're going to focus on. I also want to know how big the industry is, Mitch, right? The food and pharma industry. How big is it? I might know it.
The story arc of your pitch is, here's what we do. Here's why we're different. Here's the opportunity that we are addressing. And that's the specific example. And then that we're raising this much in order to grow this much. And if you can get that into the 1 minute, you've told the investor clearly what you do and why you're different. Yeah. That's half of your presentation. The other half is, and this is where we are going and how much we need to get there. Because you're clearly communicating to them what's in it for them. And that's the thing they're asking every moment that you're talking. Sometimes they're not even listening entirely to you, and they're thinking about their investment thesis. So how do you keep your stuff clearly defined so that it fits?
Yes. Martin, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Let's rework that story arc a little bit, right? And we're going to have a recording of this, and we'll make sure that. But I feel like you have something that, if we unlock this, okay, is going to come across as 5 times more valuable, Martin. Okay, right? And Mitch and I have, between you and me, Mitch, like we're well over 10,000 pitches, right, Mitch? Okay. Not to age us now, but I want to make sure it's pointed, right? And for everyone else, every word you use matters. The pace of what you're saying matters. And I started to give you the story arc. Mitch has also given you a story arc. Let's relook at that and make sure it comes through. And then finally, that compelling element, that the capital that you need, the $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 is going to radically change where you're going and put you on that inflection point to success, right? An investor is a gambler, Martin, okay? And what you wanted to do is make sure that this is the safest bet, okay? Right? This is the safest bet, but has the huge potential to give him or her a big win. Right?
Yeah, and the safest bet is the one for which they have the most information. It's not simply that it's a compelling opportunity, like, wow, you could make 100 times back. It's that they understand how they're going to make 100 times back.
Yes. Martin, was this helpful, Martin? Does it make sense?
Yeah. I think that my pitch, I thought it more like telling someone what we do. and not talking with an investor. So yeah, maybe I have to change it a bit.
Yeah. So what happens, Martin, is this, and I'll share this, and this is good for everyone else that's joined today. And we're going to give feedback to everyone, Martin. You're going to see this across the board, but see, the average human, now they have an attention span of 6 to 8 seconds. Okay. And what's interesting for me is I've taken the liberty. I have young kids now, and we're starting to watch old movies, Mitch, right? And Mitch, you remember the old Indiana Jones, the older Indiana Jones from the 80s and 90s, right? Martin, what I've discovered when you watch TV from back in the day, it's become a lot more boring, Mitch, right? Martin, it's become a lot more boring. The reason for that is because if you compare Indiana Jones, that's been produced in the last couple of years, there was a more recent one. And the first one, they're shifting frames, right? They're moving frames a lot faster. Okay. You watch a Marvel movie and it's shifting a lot faster now, right? There's different camera angles. Things are moving all the time because of the fact that our attention spans are just that small, that short. And so what I normally like to do, if you see what we've talked about, if you can give them something powerful and exciting within 6 to 8 seconds, so they can chew on it until you give them the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. And if you think about it, you have a minute, right? So you can give them 5, 6, 7 powerful sound bites through that process.
And that's that narrative arc of the minute.
Yes.
So I would actually write it out. Just break it into 6 chunks of 10 seconds. What's your point for the first 10 seconds? What's your point for the second 10 seconds, and so forth?
Yes. And if you can get that right, Martin, you'll just see that they're going to pay a lot more attention to you, right? And you just play to their strengths. Unfortunately, the attention spans of humans continues to drop, okay? With things like Instagram, every time you scroll up, right? And you're only spending a short amount of time, I'm sure there's a direct correlation with lowering attention span, right? So it's the world we live in, unfortunately, and VC investors are no different. Okay.
Actually, it correlates to the increased signal. If you go back to Claude Shannon's communications theory, it's the fact that there's just so much more communication now that is the problem.
Yeah. Good point, Mitch. So Martin, what we're going to do is we want to hear your pitch again, and we are going to hear your pitch again, but we need you to work on some of these pieces. Okay. All right.
Sure. Thank you very much.
We can work on the 10-second sequences.
Yes.
In our work. So
yeah. Let's get that going. And Martin, thank you for your time, and look forward to the transformation on this.